afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for participating in the ITHN network and getting to know a little bit about how you could take your startup globally. I would like to thank all of my panel members to join me from various parts of our ITHN network. I'll also like to tell you guys a little bit about the ITHN network and that it is part of a global network that's set up by the DCMS team in the UK, and that stands for the Department of Digital Culture, Media and Sport, based out of the UK, and it's a government organization, and we have 7 hubs across the globe. India is where you're dialing in from. We have a tech hub in Israel, we have a tech hub in Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, Indonesia, and Brazil. We have various representations on the panel here today, and I would really like for some of the panel members to talk a little bit about the tech hub, starting with Tracy from South Africa.
Hi everyone, so I'm Tracy. I'm the Deputy Director for the UK South Africa Tech Hub, and just going to give you a bit of information on what we do in South Africa and what our hub and some of our programs that we run. So the UK South Africa Tech Hub focus on building high-end digital and entrepreneurial skills. We look at forging partnerships between local tech sectors and international businesses. So just to give you a bit of an overview of the South African ecosystem, our ecosystem is quite early stage. We're not quite mature yet, but we are seeing some elements of a more mature ecosystem bubbling up between the mix. Specifically, we have this happening in the fintech and edtech space. In the edtech space, we had a notable exit a few years ago from a company named Get Smarter. They're an online education company. So those are just the type of things that we're seeing coming out in our ecosystem. But where we're seeing some of our gaps is around funding and skills, and our programs and interventions largely focus on those parts of the ecosystem. Our programs run across the value chain. So we've got programs from the formation sides, which are more skills, through to validation, which is capacity building, and out to the growth side. And just to give you a bit more information on some of the programs, I'm going to just give you a bit of an overview of one of the our alumni that went through some of our programs. Her name is Nobukosi Dlamini. So she first came into the, we first came across her in the UK SA Tech Hub when she joined our Future Females Business School program, which is a three-month program which focuses on ideation and early stage companies. So this upskills women in business skills and tech skills. So not because he had quite a strong skills background, but needed some development around entrepreneurship and business development, which helped her get her company up and running. Thereafter the skills program, she moved into a capacity building program of ours, which was our developer placement program, which looks at placing young coders into SMEs, which we paid for 6-month internships into those SMEs. And because she hosted one of these interns, so she could build out some of her tech for her company. And then the young coders also get the opportunity to get some job, some work experience, and also get some exposure into the entrepreneurship space. A lot of our coders end up going into corporate, so we really want to start seeing some more of the coders going into entrepreneur spaces. And then because we also continued into another one of our programs, our Future Female Tech Founder program, which is for more later stage programs. So as a business developed, she went into this program of ours, where we took her to the UK and gave her exposure to international development and scaling and skills around investment and opportunities moving into the UK. And we actually recently also had her win a tender for one of our programs we've just launched, which is our digital enablement program. And she's going to be delivering that program in country for us. We'll be looking at traditional non-tech businesses and upskilling those founders or those entrepreneurs with digital and business skills. So that's just to give you a nice overview of how our programs operate within market, and just like how the golden thread we're trying to create within the ecosystem to mature the space in South Africa. So if you want to find out more about our programs and what we're doing in SA, you're more than welcome to follow us on our channels. we've got social media pages up, just like the other hubs. So that's just an overview of what's happening in South Africa.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Would you be also kind enough to tell us, like, what sort of sectors do you see are popping up in South Africa? Like, are there specific sectors that you see growing at a much faster rate?
So mainly in fintech and edtech is where we're seeing that. Yeah, we've got quite a strong growth, and I think also with COVID, what's happened, the edtech space is booming. So we've seen with one of our programs that we run, which is our Agiza program, which is the global edtech program that we partake in. Our applications have been really strong this year, and we've seen some really great businesses and ideas coming through. And I think it's a lot to do with COVID and how people are adapting with that, as well as in the fintech space. I think a lot of the COVID changes has really pushed those kind of companies to really accelerate at this time.
Excellent. It's exciting. We have a lot of fintech movement in India as well. So I'm sure there would be some entrepreneurs tuning in that might want to explore the South African market, given that it's far more advanced and it's probably a lot more easier to kind of like deal with given the landscape. Thank you so much for the insights. I'm sure there'll be a few questions coming through our way as we progress in the session. So I would really like to invite Hani now to give us a little bit of an overview of her region and what's exciting in your region.
Thank you, AJ. My name is Hani Ogundeyi. I'm the country director for the UK Nigeria Tech Hub. I'm just here to give an overview of our hub and our tech sector in Nigeria. The tech sector in Nigeria is quickly fast growing. So tech and ICT contributed 14% to GDP, and it's fastest growing sector, contributing sector than oil and gas, which is our traditional sector. So with with a population of 200 million people and 50% of the population under 25, this growing sector of the economy really provides a really great opportunity for employment and job creation. We think that the research has shown that from technology, we can get an additional 3 million jobs and generate over 67 billion naira, which is Nigerian money, for the economy by 2021. So this is a sector in which we're particularly excited by. We have over 97.5 million mobile subscribers. We have a mobile penetration of 49% and 151 million total connections, with the smartphone penetration of around 53 million. And we think that that will rise to around 144 million by 2025. So forgive the numbers, but just to give you first a breath of the scope of the market and really the depth of the potential excitement and opportunities, I think, in the tech space in Nigeria. So now if we look at the tech ecosystem in Nigeria, it's also growing at a good pace. We've got a good number of active startups. We have an emerging sort of 90 hubs in the country, a growing angel network. Our biggest sectors by sort of investment would be probably around fintech, clean tech, and e-commerce. Rising sectors include edtech, agri-tech, and so those are really interesting. And I think last week as well, or in the last 2 weeks, we've had our first sort of largest acquisition to date in the ecosystem, which was by a company called Paystack, which is a financial fintech player, and they were acquired by US company Stripe for $200 million. So you really start to get a picture of the growing size and importance of the ecosystem in Nigeria and sort of the opportunities that arise there. In terms of our work at the UK Nigeria Tech Hub, we focus mostly on three main pillars. The first would be around supporting the ecosystem, digital skills, and the third around forging partnerships in the ecosystem, which would not be any different from all the other hubs. So some of the programs that we've run to date around ecosystem building include a COVID impact survey. So when the survey went live, we surveyed around 300 startups and investors, asking them how they were coping in these times, and really used that to design our strategy. We have a program called Ladies Who Launch. We brought 100 female entrepreneurs to support them on training and empowerment. And then we've had also a policy dialogue series where we interface with key members of policy stakeholders and talk about key issues that are affecting the growth of the tech sector in Nigeria. On our digital skills programs, we've had product management schools. So we realized at the hub that product managers was one of the areas which is deficient in Nigeria. So companies told us they're really struggling to find product managers. So we had a training program. We took graduates and basically trained them to become product managers. And then we've run more sort of vanilla programs around coding and developers. So we have a developer camp, a dev camp, A lot of programs as well focus on the northern Nigeria, which is where we have a high level of poverty, and we're really trying to use technology there to encourage inclusion. And then we have a program called Build to Accelerate, which was a business acceleration program as well focused in northern Nigeria. And then around facilitating partnerships in this area, we really support and work well with our network-wide programs. So programs like TEDxchange, which last year brought a health tech startup from Nigeria to the UK, and he's been evaluating opportunities and is actually still in touch with the NHS, which is the biggest sort of largest supply of health in the UK. So really good early wins around, not early wins, but early opportunities around exploring partnership opportunities. Then we have Go Global Africa and the Africa Tech Female Founders Program. We're particularly proud of the Africa Tech Female Founders Program. We worked with a group of 10 semi-finalists and 5 really good, strong female founders, and some of them have really gone on to do great things, raising investment, being recognized by the World Bank, etc. And really doing great work around the COVID impact, supporting local communities and impoverished opportunities. So that's it, I think, from our quick sort of run through about what Nigeria is about and the tech sector. If you want to know more about either, please follow us at UKNG Tech Hub on Twitter and on LinkedIn, and we are also on Instagram, or you can follow me as well at Honey Ogundeyi. But really, really a pleasure to be here. AJ, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Honey. I was just getting goosebumps as you were talking about the numbers, because that's what validation is about, right? It's the digital transformation that Nigeria is going through, and I think it's an important phase in time, right, where the COVID situation has kind of amplified the whole situation of being actual digital, right? So my question to you actually would be, if a startup were to think of coming to Nigeria, like if you were an entrepreneur here in India, like what would be some of the sectors or areas that you think would be right for exploration?
Yeah, so I think there's so much opportunity in all the key sectors. I mean, fintech is probably like our most developed sector, but there's a lot of competition there. But I think emerging sectors include health tech, ed tech, and agri-tech. And these are sectors in particularly where the UK, where India has done particularly well. And I think especially as we start to come up on this digital transformation journey, the UK is really well placed to work with Nigeria. So I think if a startup is evaluating opportunities in Nigeria, I'd say the first thing is, for example, you can get in touch with like a hub like ours, and we can sort of see how we can support you through that. But also I think, more broadly speaking, spending time to really understand the market. I think what we've learned in Nigeria and looking at India or Indonesia, something that works here doesn't always necessarily work here. There's a lot of sort of market peculiarities, difference in market, in the market demographics. So at base it might look the same, but also there's some nuances that you have to understand. So it's really best to go the partnerships and the collaboration routes to explore. Someone just sent a question I saw pop up about how to find opportunities. It might be in Nigeria, but at the moment we don't have a website. But I think the best thing to do is either follow us or just directly get in contact with us, and we're happy to help you navigate that. Thank you.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much, Hani, for that. And I'll probably move over to Indonesia now and get some insights on Indonesia. Really excited to hear what's been happening there.
Thanks.
Hi, Jay. Hi, everybody. My name is Oki, and I'm the Deputy Director for the UK Indonesia Tech Hub. So just a little bit about the UK Indonesia Tech Hub. We actually launched and started operating in September 2019. And like the other tech hubs around the globe, we focus on several activities that the existing ecosystem and building the current system here in tech sector, but also conducting programs on capacity building, targeting tech startups, small medium enterprises, and as well as women and underrepresented groups. So we have been working in that area, particularly of women and underrepresented groups to access digital and technology. Indonesia, considering as the 4th most populous nation in the world, with one of the largest growing internet economy in Southeast Asia, we're looking at about $100 billion by 2025. And Indonesia is known to have birthed 6 recognizable unicorns. One actually was dubbed a decacorn not long ago. And with about 65% of mobile penetration of the total population. You're looking at a user growth of 10 to 12% annually. And being part of Southeast Asia, you're not only connected within the market itself, but connected to other country ecosystems such as China, Japan, and Singapore. So it is dubbed as an emerging startup ecosystem. The country is showing a lot of commitment to innovation as they are very open to engage players. And there is a large number of foreign startups here in country. We're looking at about 2,100 startups as of mid this year, and that is continuing to grow. And the government is very much working with regulations, furthering tightening the regulations itself as the market matures, so it'll eventually stabilize. The fact that it's a booming digital booming market, we can see a lot of trending in areas like fintech. Definitely, fintech is a growing one here, and a growing interest in edtech as well. With such a large population, everyone was very used to a very traditional way of learning. Due to COVID, everything has to be shifted online. So there is that large number of interest and competition in the tech area. But because we are also world's largest archipelagic nation, we're very much strong in agriculture and fishery. So there is that agri-tech, the rest of agri-tech here, and seeing a lot happening within gaming industry. I think with COVID, there's a majority, gaming is just, we're seeing that on par with the use of social media. Another thing that the country is prioritizing is cybersecurity. So, this interest in healthcare with patients, with data protection, as well as regulating payments through telemedicine. So there is that market of startup emerging, rising in that sector, but also there's a huge demand to increase literacy skills to support the market. So the programs that we are actually conducting here in Indonesia, two that are running at the moment are one focusing on supporting people with disabilities to amplify their digital literacy skills and creating them to become more digitally ready entrepreneurs. There's a huge stigma about that with disabilities, and we're creating not only inclusivity for the market, but it's also to say that people with disabilities are capable of being part of the tech sector. Another program that we are working on is virtual training to amplify female business owners who are ultra micro and micro business owners of home industry goods. We're looking to train 100 of them here in marginalized locations in Indonesia as well. So how we basically, we create tactical events to hone into the existing ecosystem, working with local communities, tech hubs locally here, along with incubation programs that the government are doing, and as well as separate agencies, VCs, and other communities that are very much attached to the tech sector. For investors and startups looking to enter the market, there is good news. The market, basically, there's a lot of existing successful players, which are foreign entities who does go to show that the government is keen to draw to help and support the growing sector. And the authorities are continuously supporting the regulation here in order to boost confidence that the market is here. So if you'd like to find out a little bit more about what we do, please do follow us on our Instagram at UK Indonesia Tech Hub, and available on email should you be sharing our contacts. That's a little bit about Indonesia.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Oki. And I think a lot of people have this misconception as well of Indonesia that when we bring technology into Indonesia, we have to localize like some of the other regions like Japan or Korea and some other places. But one thing I keep telling people that, English is probably the most easiest and preferred language as well. Even with apps, even the character it uses the same character, right? So could you talk maybe a little bit about that, and also maybe just give people a little bit of a snapshot of the overall region and what are some of the hotspots from an entrepreneurship standpoint?
So if, maybe I'll answer the second question. So the second question first, in terms of the region, we're massive. We're looking at 17,000 over islands, but the active area that the tech sector is booming at is the Java island, because a lot of the individuals who have those skills, those development skills and marketing skills, are very much based in that central Java, but also because of the education system in that area. However, there's a growing number of users outside the central Java. We're looking at Sumatra, Kalimantan, which actually are made of old money. They are users, they have access, they have the ability to have technology provided to them, but also a growing interest because it is not as active. So there are startups and talents growing in those areas as well. Sorry, Aiden, could you repeat your first question?
So my first question was more on localization and whether or not if a technology company wants to come into Indonesia, we have to localize in terms of language.
Oh, I would definitely recommend localizing. Bilingual is very much a useful way to approach the launch of your product here. Also because there's a large number of expats and there's a large number of Indonesians who find it easier to navigate in English. However, you're looking at a huge market who are basically mostly Bahasa Indonesian speakers. So to localize is definitely the way to go. In a way, if you're attracting a certain market. So if you're looking at e-commerce, especially ed tech and fintech as well, definitely have to find a way to localize. Yeah, hope that helps.
Perfect. Makasih. Makasih. Thank you so much. I'm sure a lot of people would benefit from all the insights that you've shared. And I personally have traveled quite a fair bit and have a lot of Indonesian friends, and they keep telling me a lot about the tech sector boom. And we have like Grab as well, which is doing really, really well in Indonesia as well. And in India, they've also just recently come in. It's been probably about a year now, and they're setting up their entire backend operations here. So it just goes to show that they've validated it in another larger market, and now they're coming into India as well as a third market that they're looking at.
Yeah, maybe just to add, it's a very much on-demand market. So if you could provide them, not having them to leave their homes, great. Like Gojek, Grab, Uber, or yeah. So there you go.
Absolutely perfect. Thank you so much. I'd probably now want to invite Sheena from Kenya to give us a snapshot of her region and what's happening in Kenya.
Great, thanks guys. Sorry, so I'm joining from my phone because for some reason my laptop won't let me join. But yes, despite this, I'm the UK Kenya Tech Hub Director and yet struggling with Zoom. So that's a good intro to start. Very excited to be here and really thanks to AJ for this. I think it's been really cool to hear from the other ecosystems. Kenya, I think similar to Nigeria, though I think we haven't had that amazing exit yet. But I think very similar in the sense we have a very young population, very tech savvy. What I would say and what's really struck me about Kenya more than anything is really the entrepreneurial spirit. So there really is this kind of entrepreneurial attitude, which is everybody kind of wants to have their own hustle, their own side hustle. And I think a lot of it is because of really having a tech savvy population in terms of mobile money. We got very lucky with M-Pesa very, very quickly. And I think what that meant is you've got kind of grandmothers in rural Kenya who are able to use mobile money and see it as very trustworthy. And I think that then kind of brings on to the attitude and the culture of being quite tech savvy. Having said that, I mean, we're a very early stage ecosystem. So we have lots of good ideas, lots of buzzing entrepreneurs. And I think we're going to see some potentially really, really big game changers coming out of Kenya in various spaces. So whether it's kind of fintech, which we've seen, or health tech, agri-tech, I think is a big one. Solar, I think clean tech and solar energy has been very, very big. But I'm kind of seeing a bit more of a shift where you've seen a lot of kind of consumer, like we've seen a lot of B2C, but I think what's quite exciting, and I think what we're potentially going to see a bit more is sort of B2B markets. So for example, I'm seeing explorations across different sectors. So think if you're kind of an entrepreneur, and I always think, from a failed entrepreneur perspective myself, we've seen in the clean space, mobile chargers, phones, lamps, and light. But I think a lot of interesting ideas are now combining, for example, clean energy with agri-processing. So can you imagine something to kind of power a processing plant or something along those lines? So I'd say I see a lot of opportunities in cross sector. Even if you're sort of a fintech or a health tech, just don't focus, look at the opportunities across. I think that's a real area that's been missed. And if that would be kind of my advice to entrepreneurs at the moment. Overall, I'd say in terms of Kenya, we are in the space of kind of a very high energy ecosystem. So there are lots of hubs, lots of kind of investors, a lot of international investment. And at the moment, we're trying to bring up a lot more local angel investment. So we're trying to do a bit of work around that. From the UK Kenya Tech Hub perspective, similar to the other hubs, we're an emerging market hub. So what are we looking for? We're looking at three things. How do we build skills? How do we build linkages? And how do we develop the tech ecosystem? Now, my approach has been like a startup myself. So let's try and do lots of different things. And then we'll scale what works, pivot what doesn't, and sometimes drop things which don't. So to kind of give you an example on on sort of things that we've been doing in Kenya. So across skills, so what we've decided, so when we looked at the ecosystem, we kind of divided our strategy into 3 bits. So first was, your cool tech or sexy tech or fun tech. And, all of you are going to love this, which is your blockchain, your big data, AI, 3D printing, drones. We love it. It's going to be game changers. But realistically in Kenya, that's about 1%. So what's more interesting and what people might call a bit more boring is where tech is used as an enabler. And this is where I see a lot of potential. So where can tech be used to get financial services to the people who need it, health to the people who need it, education to the people who need it, for energy, agri, things like that. So I think tech as an enabler is, if I was an entrepreneur, that's kind of what I'd be looking at for here in Kenya. The final thing, which people are going to say even more boring, but I think I'm super excited about, is operational tech. Like, how can tech be used to help MSMEs and SMEs grow? So for example, that B2B market, now it's a tough market and it's a tough space. But for me, for example, when you see these mamas, like, young ladies who are selling baby clothes in Kenya, you get them to sell online through Twitter and do mobile money integration with a boda boda driver, which is basically a motorbike. And I think for me, that kind of tech enablement at that MSME level, SME level, that's where the growth will be. So in Kenya, I see that there are 2 arms. There's the startups, and they're going to be your high growth startups who are going to create lots of jobs, use lots of cool tech. But then you also have your MSMEs and SMEs, and that's a huge market that sometimes people forget. It's not an easy market, but if you crack that market, I think you'd be laughing. So as a startup looking to come into the market, I would look at those 2 things. In terms of skills, again, we call Silicon Savannah, and everyone's really interested in tech, etc. But the truth of the matter is, we have got the skills, the tech appetite, but we're not there yet. Like, even compared to, for example, an Indian market, for example. But we're appreciating the importance of it, and I think you'll see a lot of coding schools. You'll see a lot of programs that we're running ourselves. But I think what's more important for us in Kenya is getting that practical experience. How do we link like a young developer or a young coder or whoever it is with that practical experience? Now, that practical experience could be with a startup, it could be with an SME, but that linkage piece I think is really missing. And that's the kind of things that we're trying to do. So we're doing a lot of the work in the linkages, which is get people who've been trained and link them to businesses. Do virtual secondments where we link people, who've got like businesses going on, but how do we help them with the most boring parts of business, your ops, your resources, your sales? That's what's going to keep you going. We're working with MSMEs, which is a female program. We're working with Future Females, which is again helping tech entrepreneurs. So we do lots of different things, but I think the nutshell is I think we need to see a lot more linkages. And I really like this idea of cross country and cross hubs, because there are lots of things that are very similar, but again, lots of things that are potentially quite different. So I'll stop there. And apologies for my video and everything. It is what it is.
It's great. It's the new normal, right? Working from home this is what it's all about. It's about being so spontaneous and just moving from one device to another. So that's fine. Thank you so much, Sheena, for all those insights. And it's always exciting to hear, and it's a completely different perspective if you think about it, right? You're talking about bringing in more digital transformation, more from a back end perspective as well, right? So you feel that there's a lot more there. And India, if we talk about, traditionally has amazing amounts of startups in CRM space or process optimization space, and I definitely think that with the opportunity that you have, maybe we could run a campaign in the next couple of months and try and find some of those type of startups and take them to Kenya virtually at the moment, and hopefully one day these guys set up in Kenya and we kind of can grow it from there. So thank you so much for that. And now I'd like to invite Aiden from Israel, and really excited to hear what's happening in Israel.
Thank you, AJ. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'll just dive in basically to sort of a brief introduction of the UK Israel Tech Hub. Essentially, we were the first tech hub set up as part of this international, what has become this international network, which is quite, it's moving to see. In terms of the history, it's quite a while ago now in terms of government history. It's 9 years ago when we were founded in 2011. This is following bilateral engagement between the 2 prime ministers of Israel and the UK. And there's sort of agreement that a lot more can be done on the tech front. At the time, the UK was Israel's leading trade partner besides the US. Tech was not quite there. And the manifestation was basically founding this tech hub that would be housed at the British Embassy in Tel Aviv, where it resides until this day. In total, we're a team of 7 in Tel Aviv and 2 on the ground in the UK. Our mode of action and our purpose, in effect, is enabling British stakeholders, whether from the corporate sector, enterprises, large companies, or public bodies, to gain a global advantage by partnering with Israeli innovation. The second motive being positioning the UK as a partner of choice for Israeli companies to expand globally. Essentially, that means creating a better presence and local market recognition amongst the Israeli tech stakeholders of the opportunities in the UK. Over this time, over these past 9 years, we've facilitated over 200 tech partnerships and deals worth an estimated £100 million. That's POC over pilot, over licensing deal, adding up to that number. The British government amounts that to £1 billion of economic impact. That's a 10x, basically, for every pound invested in Israeli innovation, going back to improving the UK economy, whether it's making its companies better, largest companies in each sector, or whether it's improving the public service, for instance, of the National Health Service of the UK. This all translates into economic impact. For those of you who are less familiar with the Israeli ecosystem, we like to call ourselves the Startup Nation. There's even a book I would recommend under that title. Some people are trying to change that name now to the Scale-Up Nation, but we're sort of somewhere in between. Israel is a very unusual place. It's, I think, a small to medium city in India. It's at 9 million people in total. But the stats are of a large European country, or I would say beyond that. In total, investments in Israeli tech and startups at C2C round in 2019 surpassed $8 billion. They're on track now to pass $10 billion in 2020 during COVID. That's almost equal to the UK. So that's second in Europe. In exits, it smashed what was achieved anywhere in Europe in 2019 with $21 billion in exits. Israel has 41 unicorns. Just to compare, the UK has 77 unicorns, and it's the leader in Europe. So Israel is highly unusual in its numbers. It has 530 multinational R&D centers, the highest percentage of scientists per capita, 25%, a 25 share of global cyber investment. And I can go on basically, but as you can understand, it is a quite an exceptional ecosystem, and part of the reason the tech hub, or the first tech hub, was founded around this this bilateral area. Now, sort of one thing that stands out in Israel, part of the secret sauce that people often point towards, are two things. It's an exceptionally strong academia, especially in engineering and science. I think similar also to India in that aspect. And the second component being the IDF, the Israeli army, which beyond having soldiers and tanks and airplanes, it has massive software divisions. It's basically one of the biggest software houses in the world, and they develop anything under the sun. And what happens is these people, these young engineers, leave the army after a few short years, and they go and then they found the next startups of Israel. We have a sort of pretty steady production line in that aspect. So the army is definitely a key component in that. Also leading to the fact that Israel, by definition, and also relating to what Sheena was said, it's sort of a mirror of that. We are deep tech oriented. If you look at the UK, the landscape there is 80% market oriented, market innovation based startups like Revolut and Airbnb and things like that. In Israel, it's the opposite. It's 80% are deep tech, APIs and AI based engines. things that you effectively you wouldn't explain to your parents or grandmother. They wouldn't understand, but nonetheless, they are worth a lot of money and achieve a lot of impact and power a lot of the different tools we're using now today in modern technology. Part of the match here of basically the UK and Israel is in effect basically matching this deep tech understanding and the UK's ability to basically scale up and build market disrupting companies. That's part of what attracts Israelis to the UK. We call the UK your expansion base to the world. It's not about being in love with the UK. It's about understanding that you are better off partnering with the UK, and that's a core part of our messaging to the Israeli ecosystem. In terms of focus areas, there are numerous areas in which Israeli tech can make an impact and can be beneficial for the UK. Every few years, we've been around now for 9 years, so every few years we look at that and we look at the trends and we look at the cycles of what's coming through. In the past 3 years, we have been focused on 3 main sectors: healthcare, fintech / insurtech becoming today, and the third sector being clean growth, which encompasses energy and mobility primarily today. So we have those 3 key sectors in which we effectively employ sector experts on each area. Underneath those sectors, we have a common theme of cybersecurity for each of those. Obviously, also being people come to Israel a lot of the time to look for cybersecurity. Our job is to also open up other areas for them to look at. We have legacy sectors, meaning sectors that we invested a lot in the past and sort of let go because they are effectively running magnificently themselves now. EdTech and retail tech being one of them. We do still participate, but we don't feel the need to sort of manage them so closely. We see it as a success. In terms of our additional activities, we have 2 diversity and inclusion sectors. One amongst the Arab minority in Israel. 20% of the population in Israel is an Arab minority. So we focus energy in terms of bringing them in a lot more to the mix. And the second sector being what we call women leading innovation. There's a lot of activity here on the ground in Israel in terms of basically changing the stats to have more women represented leading companies and making impact. And there's a lot of that going on in the UK, and we're effectively working on matching those initiatives and communities together. In terms of our approach, we focus, I mentioned before, on 3 segments: investors, the public sector, and corporates, effectively the enterprises, the buyers of the technology. Those are the 3 segments that you need, in effect, to build buy-ins between two ecosystems. And our main mode of action, one of our main modes of action is approaching these stakeholders and building bespoke projects for them. It really depends on where they are in the innovation spectrum. If you have a company that's been visiting here for 20 years, obviously they don't need an introduction, but they may need some strategic guidance. We offer scouting projects, challenges, pitch days, local market footprint. It can be for a private company. It can be for the NHS, the health service of the UK. Also, we organize sort of more broader delegations back and forth, market induction workshops, or what we call Zoom webinars these days. And we also work a lot on the UK-Israel community side, developing a shared UK-Israel VC club, for instance, a shared UK-Israel women's network, a shared UK-Israel climate action network, trying to sort of build ties between like-minded people on a sector basis. Finally, I'll just sort of give you one example of something that we're very proud of, and we've just launched in the past week. It's the 3rd iteration of something we're calling the Dangor Healthcare Initiative. This is essentially, actually, I can share my screen to show you briefly the slide. And you'll see this is you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Great, yeah. This is a challenge I'm sort of just showing off here, something that we've been working a lot on, not me, but my talented healthcare manager. Brilliant group of NHS organizations, supported by the NHSA, which is the UK healthcare organization on the ground. Effectively, we'll be matchmaking, hopefully dozens of different Israeli startups, specifically to people on the ground in hospitals in the UK. And these are the types of programs. This is a sort of demonstration of the types of things that we love doing.
Excellent.
In terms of being in contact with me, my email is idan@ukisraelhub.com. I'm Idan Fisher on LinkedIn, and I welcome you to reach out.
Thank you so much, Aiden. I think there'll be a lot of interest to know how to set up in Israel next, so we'll definitely route some of those inquiries your way over the next couple of weeks. Given that we have literally 3 minutes left, I would want to pick up one question and maybe ask the panel members to choose who wants to answer this. And this is a question regarding women entrepreneurship. How do you ensure that women entrepreneurs are supported by your tech hub? So if someone wants to go ahead, just unmute your microphone and share how you think, or how do we actually at the Tech Hub ensure that women entrepreneurs are supported? Annie? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So gender inclusivity is super important to us and one of our main pillars of programming. So the way that we think about it is a core part of our strategy, and we'll create several programs throughout the year, which is specifically targeted at increasing the participation of women in technology. And for example, in Nigeria, the way that I think about that piece of work is not to just think about it throughout the whole value chain. So from supporting female graduates who are fresh out of school in getting roles in technology and augmenting their skills, to more advanced stage development programs. So for example, like the Africa UK Female Program, which supports female tech entrepreneurs who have already probably created a startup and are post MVP, and supporting them with access to mentors, access to the UK network, and access to investors. And then in between all of that, we have programs to support women in setting up tech businesses, etc. So it's a full value scale operation and a key focus area for the hub in Nigeria, but also I speak for most of all the other hubs as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Honey. Tracy, there's a question which I think you might be able to answer here. There's a question on, do you only support tech companies or even tech service companies?
So our main focus is around tech companies, but we are running programs around enabling traditional businesses into that space. So we look at the ecosystem overall and how we can get more people into that space. Companies that are supporting that side, we also include in our programs, depends on what the program is running. We have, for instance, our developer placement program where they're upskilling people into coding skills. And that's something that we run because we want more skills in that space. So we are inclusive into the other parts of it.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tracy, for that. Given that we have 1 minute left, I'm just going to say thank you to everyone for sharing their beautiful insights of each of the region. We have a lot more questions, which I will probably channel your way over the next couple of days, and we'll get back to all the participants with the answers. Thank you so much once again for all your time and your insights. Really looking forward to collaborating with each one of you and introducing some amazing startups on both sides. Thank you and take care and stay safe.